Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another live stream. This is the first one in a little while. I've been busy with some family stuff, but we're back live, and we're going to be talking about the US economy, what we can expect with the up-and-coming FOMC meeting. We're going to take a look at Bitcoin and some of the top altcoins. We'll do a quick TA breakdown for them, and we'll go through some Twitter posts with news articles, and I'll try to cover everything in around about 30 minutes. Okay, so let's start off with Bitcoin. Obviously, Bitcoin has been performing extremely well. We're back on the chart that I like using. This is the weekly, and we are back testing the 20 EMA over here. So the yellow line that you see here is the 20 exponential moving average. I'm just trying to click this. Should be better. So the 20 EMA is holding us as support, and this is essentially what you want to see in a bull market, in an uptrend. You want to be bouncing off the 20 EMA. Sometimes you'll have drops like this. This is when you have a correction, and this is when you should be buying essentially most of your Bitcoin. If you bought in over here, of course, you're sitting at massive profits over here. When you drop below the 20 EMA, of course, you don't want to buy every single time you drop, because sometimes, right, at the end of the bull market, you're going to drop below the 20 EMA, and that'll be the beginning of a massive crash, because I think there will be a bear market. Maybe it won't be a 70-75% crash, but it'll definitely be a major crash, especially for altcoins. We're going to see a 90% drop for your altcoins, 90 to 99%. So make sure you're going to be prepared to exit your positions, whether it's at the end of this year or at the beginning of the next year when you think the cycle will be over. But Bitcoin has been doing very well, really nothing to add. Our next leg up will potentially take us to, let's try to get this Fibonacci here perfectly set up. So we're going to be looking at around $126,000. So we took the current local bottom, assuming this is our local bottom, and we took the top from July, and the 1.618 is sitting at 127,000. Of course, for the cycle peak, we have been targeting $150,000 to $55,000 ever since the last bull market, right? Or I should say the previous bear market. That has been our target. So Bitcoin has been performing extremely well. Let's quickly jump into Ethereum's chart. Let's see what's been going on with ETH. I think this is a better chart to use. All right, so this is our Ethereum chart, and what happened here is we broke through this massive resistance trend line over here. We retested it multiple times. So you had a rejection in March 2024, in May 2024, and again in December 2024. This was around $4,000. Now we finally broke through that with this strong impulsive move from April. So it began in April, concluded in August. And now we're seeing a bit of a retracement here, around 15 to 16%, which is normal. I would say it would even be okay to drop down to the 20 EMA briefly. We don't want to be closing any candles below $4,000, but a brief drop maybe. Once the 20 EMA continues creeping up, we might have a bounce off of that. So keep your eyes on the 20 weekly. But this is a good sign for Ethereum and for altcoins, because as you know, Ethereum is the leader of the altcoins. It's going to drag the altcoins right behind it once we start breaking those all-time high prices. So Ethereum's all-time high is sitting at 4,800. If you're looking at this price here, yeah, closer to 5,000. So once we break that, I think things are going to get very crazy. Let's take a look at some of the top altcoins here. Let's quickly jump into Cardano. Again, this is the weekly chart for ADA. And we're above the 20 EMA. We are going to be looking at some resistance here at $1.20 to $1.12. Try to extend this Fibonacci here. So we took out the 1.414 and we've had a slow retracement from there, dropped around 60% towards the golden ratio here. So the Fibonacci is set up from the bottom here in August 2024 to the top in March 2024. We got to the 1.414 and to the 1.272. Then we had a correction to the golden ratio, and now we're bouncing off of it. So it's looking pretty good for Cardano. Again, it's not as good as everyone thought it would be by this point in the cycle. But again, you never know what's going to happen. Sometimes things can start going parabolic out of nowhere with one bullish announcement. And I think Charles Hoskinson just got cleared of a massive fraud allegation, around $900,000, I believe. So I think it had something to do with the token minting, but I'm not sure. Maybe you can let me know down below in the comments what that was exactly. Good morning, lovely crisp spring morning here in New Zealand. Good to see you again. Good to see you. And it's great to know that you have springtime over there, because we're entering autumn and winter right after that. It's pretty quick here in Canada. So our weather is starting to become less and less enjoyable by the day. So Cardano is doing great. I personally wouldn't enter here. This is not something that I'm looking to buy. If it drops to around 50 cents, right, you have this Fibonacci to look at. 54 cents is the golden ratio. We've retested that multiple times throughout 2025. If we have another retest, maybe grab some coins there and look for a either short to midterm move, or if you're looking for long-term until the end of the cycle, then you could be expecting maybe a retest of the all-time high, just as a conservative bet. Let's also take a look at BNB. That has been doing quite well, and it's breaking all-time high prices. So BNB is doing amazing. I know a guy that has been buying BNB for the past 2-3 years, and right now he should be doing very well. Hopefully he's taking some profits, but we're running into this resistance trend line. We did a TA on BNB on my channel just recently, a few weeks ago. I think it was over here around a month ago. So make sure to look at that video. We were covering this pattern that we were in, and we were saying that you're probably going to run into some resistance at the top of this channel, and your immediate response would be a move back down to the bottom of the channel. So that would take you to approximately $650-ish if that were to happen. All right, so yeah, $650 to $700 maybe. Of course, that's going to mean we're going to be losing the 20 EMA on the weekly, which is not something that we want to see. But as long as you're in a pattern, you're going to be expecting to adhere to the pattern support and resistance. So you go up, down, down, up, down until you break this pattern. So a channel up pattern is usually broken to the downside. 75% of the time it's broken to the downside. So from here, logically, we would be expecting a break to the downside. However, seeing as how the US economy is shaping up, it's likely inflation is going to start going up, which means all of the assets against the US dollar are going to be going up as well. And that means we have a likely or very good chance of seeing an alt season. And hopefully BNB won't be crashing before that. And hopefully this will, be an irregular pattern where we do see a breakout from a channel up pattern. All we need to do is we need to break past the resistance, and we need to have volume coming in on the weekly chart. So we need volume backing that up. But seeing how BNB is performing when other altcoins aren't performing very well, I have no doubt BNB will be sitting at $1,000 at least by the end of the cycle. If not higher, of course, if not higher. So we looked at Ethereum, BNB, ADA. Let's quickly take a look at the next FOMC meeting and the expectations. So there's a 100% chance that we're going to be getting a cut. Now, the question is it going to be a 25 basis points cut, or is it going to be a 50 basis points cut? So there's an 11% chance that we will see a 50 basis points cut. And that will obviously be a big shock to the markets. Things are probably going to start rallying. That's when you might enter some juicy short midterm trades. And there's an 89% chance of a 25 basis points cut. So there is no question we're going to get a cut on September 17th, which everyone was expecting over the past few months. We've talked about it extensively, especially on Patreon. We're going to be seeing a cut in September, and this is coming to fruition. Jerome Powell, Trump calling him too late Powell. Funny enough, he's the one who appointed Powell. But usually they look at data, but if you listen to the way Jerome Powell talks in his press conferences, if you look at his Jackson Hole meeting, a lot of the times he contradicts himself, where he says we'll have to go by data. We'll have to wait until the data tells us what the right step is or what the next right steps are. But with Jackson Hole, he was talking about his feelings, how he feels about certain things, and how they're going based on these feelings that the tariffs are gonna, change some things in the future. So this is why you don't listen to these people. You take them at face value with a pinch of salt, as they say. They're revising the job numbers. So yeah, don't pay too much attention. Don't take it close to heart, because they can always go back on their word. If we jump into the October FOMC meeting, we have a 71% chance of a rate cut of 25 basis points. So essentially, we're going to be sitting at 3.75% by the October meeting, or after the October meeting, and then 8.5% at 3.5 to 3.75. So we're going to be getting another cut in October, and we're likely to see another cut in December. And this is, like, right now, it's not looking good. The reason why this is happening is because if you look at the job reports, so the unemployment rate for September, this is the expectation where you can vote. So the August expectation was 4.2%. The actual came in 0.1% higher at 4.3. So this caused a lot of panic in the markets, and this is why there's, like, Jerome Powell has to come in and save the labor market, and he has to start cutting interest rates. If you look at the job numbers, they've been revising those like crazy, and whatever job numbers we get for August, for September, or rather for September, October, chances are they're going to be revised heavily. So Jerome Powell going based on data that later gets revised pretty much undermines the whole process of them waiting for the data to come out to then decide whether to cut rates or not. So the whole system is essentially based on random words and numbers that can get revised at any point. And the U.S. citizens obviously are paying the price with their hard-earned money. So this is regarding the unemployment rate. This is taking a look at the CPI, okay, Consumer Price Index. And we can see for the month of July, inflation came in at 2.7% when the forecast was sitting at 2.8%. So it came in lower than expected, which is good. But chances are inflation is going to be going higher in 2026 due to tariffs, due to the easing on the monetary policy. There will be more printing. There will be quantitative easing, which means they're going to be feeding the economy lots of money to incentivize, essentially to incentivize the economy. September 11th is when we're getting the CPI numbers for the month of August, and the forecast is 2.9%. So that's 0.2% higher than our actual for July. And this is not a good sign. People are expecting, or markets are expecting, higher inflation. So the lowest we had here was 2.4% in March. Let's take a look at the past 2 years. 2.4. I don't think we're sitting. So 2.3 for May. April was 2.3 actually. Yeah, so we got to around 2%, which was their target. So now it seems that things are going to start turning around. And we'll see who Trump places instead of Jerome Powell, because if it's going to be someone who is pro-Trump, so to speak, then they'll probably start driving the interest rates down very quickly. And as you can see with the expectations, some people for September already are expecting a 50 basis points cut. So the economy needs to be saved. Jerome Powell is going to try to do that. They've done a terrible job of doing that over the past 5 years. And again, he was placed there by President Trump, which makes the whole thing even more ironic. Let's see. All right, let's go through some Twitter posts here. This is coming from Cointelegraph. Gold has reached a new all-time high of $3,600. This was yesterday. And this is essentially confirming the notion that inflation is going to be causing lots of price surging in the S&P 500, in precious metals, and in crypto. So the reason why gold is pumping is because the US dollar is getting devalued. And there's a whole different side to this whole issue with the US dollar getting devalued is that Trump and the US want to devalue the US dollar because that helps the other countries with their currency against the dollar because of their trading and the way they like to help out each other, essentially. So Trump essentially wants to devalue the dollar, and this is how all of these assets are pumping. This is why when you buy gold, when you buy into stocks, they will go up no matter what. Whether there is a crash of 90% today, in 2 years, it's going to be back up again because inflation is always going to continue devaluing your fiat currency. This is coming from Bitcoin Magazine. Almost 95% of all Bitcoin addresses are in profit. And this usually is not a very good sign because typically this would mean that we're approaching cycle top, or at least some sort of a top. I'm the other 5%. It's about to be 100% after the big run of Q4. So people are expecting Q4 to be bullish, which is a logical expectation, especially if they start cutting rates aggressively. That's going to be a big thing. That would cause lots of speculation. It would cause altcoins to go parabolic. Bloomberg reports Michael Saylor's strategy has met all the criteria and more to be added into the S&P 500. So this is a really, really bullish thing for MicroStrategy if they get added into the S&P 500. Again, that's more exposure to Bitcoin. That's more eyes on Bitcoin, and it would just prove once more that Bitcoin is a solid asset, and people should start taking it seriously. And I think more than 1 million Bitcoin are now held by public-owned companies, or by public companies is the right term, I think. And this is regarding the Bitcoin supply. According to Ledger, between 2.3 to 3.7 million Bitcoin is permanently lost. At least 11% of the total supply is lost forever. So when someone asks you how many Bitcoin are there in circulation, it's not going to be, it's not going to be 21 million, right? It's at least 19 million, and then you minus whatever Satoshi has, it's down to 18 million, and 18, 17 million Bitcoin is what you're looking at. Let's see what's pumping today. World Liberty Financial. So of course, this is going to be on Binance. So September 1st is when this thing launched at 32 cents. I mean, personally, I wouldn't buy it because of all of the craziness that's going around with this administration. So yes, you can make money with this, but because of all the things they've been talking about and how random things just happen, there is a very good chance that you're going to get a dump with something as volatile as this. Essentially, this is like buying an Elon Musk coin, right? It's going to do 6,000% one day, but then Elon says, Elon does a Nazi salute on a live stream, and then it drops. So yeah, just be careful buying into this. Let's take a look at RWA. They changed the layout a bit. Let's go into AI. Bitensor is sitting at great buying prices. So is Near Protocol. I would probably pick up some Render if you have some spare cash. Of course, none of this is financial advice. Injective, GRT. I think GRT pumped quite a bit. So definitely don't buy into something that 33 cents in December 2024. Actually, okay, this hasn't, yeah. It's a pretty good buying opportunity for the graph as well. Ether, I would look at Ether. I would look at AOS. Grass, if you want, but I sold my grass with minimum profits. And of course, Destra. Not going to go too low into the list because lots of those coins are on our Patreon. Let's go into RWA protocols. Chainlink leading the charge. So I would pick up some Chainlink when it has a correction. And I'll probably have Chainlink for the next run as well. Of course, Ondo. Injective is here as well. Mantra, I would forget about that coin. You can take a look at Track, still very low market cap. So this is the RWA narrative, and the total market cap is 67 billion, and most of that is just, 50% of that is the top 3 coins. So there's lots of room to grow here for all of these coins. Pinlink being a very, very good pick. Alex Becker is super bullish on this, so there's a reason. There's a reason he's bullish on it, and if he's going to be backing it and he's going to be talking about it, it's definitely going to have a day in the spotlight. Can you please take a look at Bioprotocol or Ondo? Let's take a look at Ondo. Let's take a look at Ondo. Okay, so we have a fib here from the bottom in June 2025 to December 2024, and we're approaching the 0.236 Fibonacci. I don't think we need this block here right now. So we're approaching the 0.236 fib at around 87 cents. Great buying opportunity in my opinion, but we are dropping below the 20 EMA, so that is not a good sign, to be honest. But the altcoin market is not doing very well, so it's not really Ondo's fault. Yeah, some sort of a broadening, descending wedge here. So worst case scenario, you would be probably looking at a return down to this trend line. So that will take you to roughly 60 cents, but I don't think that's going to happen. Unless there is a market-wide crash and something bearish happens, there is a massive crash, black swan event, and of course, we could dump even lower than that. And if you're bullish on Ondo and on RWA in general, then by all means pick up some Ondo at 60 cents. You know, I would gladly do that. But Ondo's market cap is very low. It's sitting at 2.8 billion. So this could get to a 15 to 20 billion dollar market cap easily. So you're looking at around 10x in my opinion. Actually, that's a bit less than 10x. I would say something like 7 to 6x. So it's a safe play in the RWA narrative. And if you want to pick up some Ondo at 90 cents, I guess feel free to do that. It's not as low as the prices were back in September 2024, but it's still better than nothing. So if you want some exposure, get some Ondo. I would say get some Chainlink, but not at these prices. Chainlink is a bit too high. We were covering Chainlink throughout the bear market at $5, $6. So if you weren't picking it up then I don't see a point buying it at $22 right now. Yeah, so go through this RWA list. Start looking at some of the lower cap projects. Do your own research. Don't buy into something simply because it's a low cap, because lots of this is going to end up being a scam, a rug pull, and you're going to lose money on these coins. So make sure you're very careful. Celestia, let's take a look at Celestia. Oop, that's the wrong language. Yeah, so this is one of the coins that really got affected by lots of VC dumping. All-time high market cap, 4 billion. And the price just keeps getting pressed down. So we were sitting at $20 when the market cap was at 3.3 billion, which is, let's say, a 3x from here, which is nowhere close to $20 when you multiply 1.59 by 3 or 4 times. So if you're expecting $20 again, chances are that's not going to happen, unfortunately. I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy, but I'm just trying to be realistic. So you either dollar cost average to bring down your average buying price to like $2, $3 so that you can exit out, or you wait until it pumps to, let's say, $10 would be the max, just for argument's sake, and you sell at a loss there, and you get out with as minimum loss as possible. That's one way to look at it, because if you're waiting for $20, then unfortunately, with the way things are happening right now, it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. So if we go to the coin perspective and we take a look at Celestia here. So let's say we're going to be sitting at $20. That's a $15.4 billion market cap. So do you think this can get to a $15 billion market cap? Maybe it can. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm saying, it's a layer 1. And it's in the Cosmos ecosystem as well, which hasn't been performing very well. I sold my Cosmos last year at like $12, got out with nice profits, and I haven't been back in since. But just looking at the chart here, there's not a lot to cover. I don't even have to go on to the price action chart. It's at the bottom. It's at the bottom here. So if you want a dollar cost average into it, now is the time to do that. Otherwise, I would not recommend getting into Celestia. Heavy VC project. Oscar is asking for AVAX. So regarding AVAX, you can go to my channel, and we uploaded an AVAX technical analysis here just 13 hours ago. So make sure to check that out if you're interested in AVAX. It's a whole separate video on it. And yeah, that should be it. We're right within 30 minutes, just as we planned. And I want to thank you all for joining our live stream. Let me know what are your thoughts on the Q4 pump that everyone is looking for. Let me know what are your thoughts on Bitcoin and what are your thoughts on the rate cuts. Do you think we're going to have a 25 basis points cut? I think it's going to be a 25 basis points cut. I don't think they're going to go too crazy and start doing 50 basis point cuts right now. Of course, it depends on what the economy does. If the labor market starts suffering even more, then they're going to have to do a 50 basis points cut. Okay. And let me know what other projects you want me to cover in the next live stream. Stay safe, everyone, and goodbye.